Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Intentionally Abundant podcast. We are doing another Epic Business edition, and we have another special guest. And so I want to introduce everybody to Chanel McCord. She is back on the podcast. She was on it, I think, a year or a year and a half ago. Mm-hmm. But what I decided to do per the intro is do a where are they now? Because I know that when we have our events, whether it's virtual or online, or we showcase our clients, most therapists hear about like where the therapist started and what they're currently doing. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you never get the opportunity unless you see them at an event. You never hear about where they are now, like what they've done, so that you can see, you know, the action. So welcome, Chanel, back to the podcast.
Hey, super excited to be here.
Yes. So let's update everybody. And for those who are not familiar with you, if you can do a brief intro, licensure, states your license in, and who do you serve?
Okay, absolutely. So I am Chanel McCord. I am the CEO and clinical director of Oasis Wellness Group here in the state of New Jersey. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I'm also an approved clinical supervisor. And so my population that I serve is Black and Brown communities, specifically working with people who are looking to find fulfillment in their life after healing from trauma. Because oftentimes we think that, okay, once I've healed from trauma, you know, I'm good to go. But the reality is I found that a lot of clients healed from trauma and it's like, now what? And so I come in to fill that gap of the now what and helping them to find fulfillment in their life afterwards. And so, yeah, I work with Black men and women, super excited about that. And I also provide clinical supervision because my heart in this field is to train up the next generation of therapists.
That's good. That's good. Okay, so we got a lot of stuff going on here. So let me pick apart some of it, right? So we're in New Jersey. You have a group practice. Did you start off with a solo practice first?
I did. I started off in solo practice. And then when the pandemic hit, I expanded to group practice because my caseload just blew up.
Okay, so let's pause there for a second. So we're in the season of doing like a Streams of Income boot camp. Depending on when people watch this, it may already have happened, but some replays may still be available.
Right.
Group practice is per that boot camp, an actual bonus that I'm going to give them probably on day 3, I think, because it's one that probably a lot of people are interested in, but I find that a lot of clinicians, and we've seen it even in the mastermind, you know, like, oh, I want to get into group practice. And I'm like, why? And most of the answers are, oh, passive income. And I'm like, is it really passive?
Right.
So can you share an overall picture to the clinician seeking to either start or expand their group practice? Like, what is it really like, the good, the bad, and the ugly?
Yeah, so I would say you have to know that you know that you know that you know that you want to do group practice, right? Because it's one thing when you're responsible for yourself. It's a whole other thing. When you start a group practice, you start an enterprise, right? When you're working by yourself, you can take care of your billing, you can answer the calls and all of that stuff. When you start group practice, you're starting an enterprise. And so I had to quickly learn to pivot, to not just supervise myself. I had to learn quickly to make sure my systems were right so that my therapist knew, you know, how I do things and how I want things done, and then getting administrative help. Like, it's not passive income because there is a lot of work that comes along with it, right? You don't just sit back and make money. Like, there's a lot of follow-up, making sure that, you know, the marketing by itself, like, marketing by itself is a whole job in group practice, right? Mm-hmm. Making sure that not just me, I have the clients of my niche, but also what are the niches of my therapists, right? What are they good at, and helping them to find those clients. So I did it because I knew that I wanted to have a group practice, but we hit a time where it was just like, okay, this is super beneficial. I had like 60 people on my wait list, and I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I had a huge wait list, and I was like, this is ridiculous. There's no sense in making all of these people wait when they need help. And so I was able to pivot quickly during that time. However, I also love it in the fact that because I have group practice, I was able to pull back a little bit from doing the one-on-one therapy to focus on these other streams. Like, now I can literally say I have several streams that are in play and are making money all at the same time, because now I'm not the only one focused on serving these clients. And now that my systems are straight, like, everything is kind of just running itself at this point where I don't have to be as hands-on just to make sure that things are running behind the scenes. But it took me 4 4 years to get there.
I was going to ask you how long, because some people even hear that and they're like, oh, so like a year. And I'm like, it depends on your leadership capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on your bandwidth. It depends on your ability to, when I say invest in yourself, I don't want people to hear, oh, that just means she's saying join the coaching program. No.
Right.
What I mean by that is you mentioned hashtag systems, and everybody know I talk about systems all day long before I mention coaching. Right? If you don't have the systems, you don't have a business.
It's real.
You know? So it took you 4 years to like get up
and that's only because I was able to leave my job in 21. So I was able to step into it full time, because I'm gonna be honest, if I was still working full time, I probably would still be in the building phase trying to get all of that stuff together. But because I was able to walk away from my job, I was able to focus in 100% on making this happen.
Okay. So in your practice, do you have pre-licensed or licensed therapists, or both?
So both of my therapists started off as pre-licensed, and then one of them just last year got her clinical license, and she decided to stay on, and not just stay on, but she became full-time in the practice.
Yay. Okay. And then I know you mentioned marketing. So are there caseloads like slowly building? Are they full? Like, what do their caseloads look like?
So they're actually full. Everybody is full where they are right now, which is really nice. So we just kind of are starting a wait list. Like, I was able to graduate a lot of clients out, so I'm taking more on, and I'm actively hiring now too, because I feel like I'm in a good space now to be able to bring on more clinicians. So I'm working on even expanding that, and I got approved to provide intensive and community services through the state. So I'm also working on getting that program up, which I'll be able to hire a whole host of pre-licensed and master's level clinicians for that program.
So let me just highlight this again. So to the people who are listening or watching, what Chanel is talking about is running a marathon, not a sprint. So again, going back to the why, a clinician can say, I'm tired of one-on-one. I want to maximize my time, which is fine, so I want to open a group. It's fine too. What is your why? She's a great teacher, right? She said that in her intro. She's a clinical supervisor. That also comes with a level of leadership and also coaching. I just want people to hear that, because when you have a team member or team members, you should be constantly coaching them, not just telling them like stuff, or you should be never talking at your team,
right?
But it should be a collaborative process. But I love how you explain the 4-year journey of not just building systems and understanding your why, but also making sure that your systems were good for honestly a smaller amount of people, versus trying to hire 5 people from the get, because you're responsible for 5 other whole people. Whole people. Okay. So work out the kinks. They with you for the ride, because once they licensed and still stayed with you, right? And now what's nice is you can take all the ups and downs that you've learned from during that period, but now you're going to go faster because you know what to do.
Exactly. Right. Everything is built now. So like I said, now I feel like I can add clinicians, and then it's just a process, just going through the process. So
yeah. So let's shift to then collaboration. So we have group practice popping. We have clinicians caseloads. Great. You can tell yourself how many clients you want or not, or hire some more people. You also, it sounds like, got funding from another resource, which is great. So it sounds like your streams of income, this is my joke on the streams of income bootcamp, they streaming.
The streams is streaming.
Yeah, Dr. Roche told me that. She was like, I was told that if you ain't making money, they not streaming. I said, girl,
listen.
Right. So collaboration. So I know that you've been in our community for, it was like 4 years or whatever, but you were in our mastermind for a few years too. What did you see as a graduate? Because some people saw y'all in it, but again, where are they now? When you walked away from the mastermind, what did you walk away with? And I want you to talk about tangible and intangible specifically.
Right. So tangibly, I walked away with a community. Many we're still in contact. We actually have planned on the books. We have a CEO retreat coming up in July. We are going to Jamaica. A group of us are going to Jamaica. So I walked away with a community. Being in private practice, be it group or not, is a very lonely venture, right? You don't have colleagues necessarily or people who understand. Like I could talk to my husband, but he don't really get it. Like, so being able to have a group of bosses that I can reach out with, like we still have relationship, we still texting each other every once in a while. So I think the community and other people who we're still holding each other accountable to business goals, because accountability is everything. Intangibly, when I graduated, if I can be honest, I was on the fence, right? I was on the fence because I was just like, am I ready? But then I started to think about what I tell my clients when they're on the fence from graduating from therapy. Like at some point, it becomes a crutch for you to not go out there and actually do the things, right? And so I remember after I graduated, around about January start, and I was just like, oh snap, I don't have my meetings with TK. So I was just like, all right, so what am I do? And it forced me to do the things. And I started to sit down and think like, okay, now I have to do the things. Like I have the skills, I have the knowledge, like I can do this. And so it forced me into a position of, okay, now get out there and do the things. You know systems, continue to work on it, not because, okay, you graduated, it's over, the program is over, you complete it, but making sure that I continue moving on. And I can honestly say, because I'm doing the things, I'm now hitting those 10K months.
Yay. No, I mean, I love that. And I love tangible, but I really love intangible because those are the things that stay with us. And even with a community, that falls on both sides because you have a sisterhood, right? You can do physical activities together. You can be online and on the phone, right? But also, that you have an extra set of support. And absolutely. I love, as therapists, we related to therapy because what do we tell group private, practice clients, right? The goal of being in a group is not just to learn the curriculum if there is one and the process. Right. It's really about you seeing that you're not the only one to really connect with other people, even if it's just one person, and you help each other along the way. Yeah. And I want to insert this, and I don't really push this a lot, but I will say, and I think we talked about it at the July mastermind last year in New York, and then it carried over to the graduation, is that I always tell my community, I will tell you things that a lot of coaches will never, ever tell you at all. And they have their reasons for it. And I'm just different and it's okay. One of the things I will tell our students, which was last year, is some people, not all, need to take an implementation year, right? And you know who you are. And when we talk one-on-one, I will tell you, I don't know if the implementation year is right for you right now. Because some people will take that as, they'll look at like things like finances and things like that. I'm like, no, look at where you want to go. But more than half of y'all though, I'm like, you need an implementation year, meaning you need that time to prove to yourself that you can do it. I'm sure my voice is in your head. If it ain't, just go watch an Instagram video, Right. But I love how you said the intangible piece of, you left with a lot of resources, but what do we talk about all the time? Mindset first, resources second. You can have all the strategies in the world, but are you resourceful? And that's what we talked about in that July mastermind, because at a point it's going to come to an end.
Exactly. Yeah. So and I will say that, like, I can honestly say, like, I love the counseling, I love the coaching in the community and stuff like that. But I've seen myself, I see the results of it now because I'm taking the time to focus on making it happen. And there's a difference. There's a huge difference in how my business looks now, even from when we ended in November.
Yeah. And that's the goal. So I really want people to hear that, because one is, she's different, and people that I bring on this podcast are different. What I mean by that is that they first took the initial step, and it may not have been easy for all, but they took the initial leap of faith and bet on themselves, right? Because that's not hard as people who already paid for school. So, you did that, but then we create this, I don't want to say the word, well, it could happen though. I'm not saying that we've had it in ECM, but I know that it can happen in coaching programs. I've seen it. Codependency, right? Yes. So one of the ways that I know that I set it up for our alumni, and this is really where I'm telling people, you got to learn how to be your own business owner, best version of yourself. Yeah. So what did I tell y'all? I'm like, I email y'all like once a quarter. You know what I'm saying? I'll tell you what I have going on, because everybody don't open up all emails or whatever. Right. And if you know that you're in a place where you need additional support for a booster, because that's what we tell our therapy clients, then you go to the booster. If you don't, you keep implementing, right?
Right.
Just make sure that you're using that time to show up for yourself. So I love, love, love. I'm gonna start doing more.
Right. Right.
Where are they now? Because it also really shows that whatever was happening actually worked, but sometimes everybody, we can't see it until we remove that thing.
100%.
And so I need y'all to have more confidence. So collaboration on steroids at this point. Let's talk about what I've been seeing on Instagram. What is happening in the next week or month or something?
Yeah. So actually on Saturday, I am hosting my first conference. I'm so super excited. This was something I have been talking with you about for a while. Like, I want to have an event. I want to have an event. I want to have an event. And for whatever reason, I was like scared out my mind to have an event. I was like, nobody's going to come. What am I going to do? I like planning for all the pieces or whatever. And one day I had my own come to Jesus moment. And I sat down and with my team and I was like, listen, y'all, it is time past due that we have an event. And literally, so disclaimer, I don't suggest anybody do this. We pulled this off in 2 months. Listen, I don't suggest anybody do this.
No, if you have the bandwidth, but I want everybody to hear everything you had already said and done.
Yeah.
So that's to me the difference is that, and you do have the tools because we've talked about it. I mean, you have the tools. Just because you don't do it at that moment don't mean you ain't got it.
Yeah. And so I sat down with my team and I was like, let's do something. And so, I went out and for me, it was going out. I found once I locked in the venue, I was like, that's it. We're having an event. Like, I can't back out now. And what was awesome about it and trying to figure out, okay, how do we execute? I literally already had a group of speakers. Like, it was just a matter of just asking people, I already had people around me who, whether it was from church or the community, ECM or whatever the case is. And it was just a matter of, I know what my theme is. Let me find people that I know that I can speak to this. And it was awesome because also along with that, they were able to bring their people for the conference. I had a goal. I hit my goal of how many people I wanted to actually register for the conference, so it was scary, but at the same time, when I sat back and looked at it, I remember saying to my pastor, I was talking to her about it. I was just like, it almost feels weird because I almost felt like it was too easy. Like, I'm like, okay. I was like, scared. I was like, this happened, but I'm sitting down looking around like, all right, what's going to pop up? What's going to pop off? Because it flowed well. Like, I had my budgeting sheet. I knew exactly what I needed to charge in order to hit the numbers. I knew what I could do, what I needed to pull back on, I even got, a massage school to collaborate with me in terms of their students needed hours. And I wanted to provide chair massages. And it's just like, well, we need hours so we can come in and do this for free, like type of thing. So I was just like, okay, well, I want to tip them. So I added a little something extra on top of registration. So the resources, like just looking for the resources out there and not assuming that they're like people won't or people can't or whatever the case is, So literally just tapping into my community is what made this event happen. And like I said, I was just able to point on people like, hey, I know you talk about this. I know you did this. And I've seen so many events. Like, I was the event coordinator at my church, my pastor ran events. And, don't be surprised if you see some TK sprinkles, on my conference and stuff like that. We definitely walking out to theme songs and all of that. Like, there's definitely going to be all of that.
A whole line dance.
Exactly. Actually, we're having a line dance party at the end. So, just I think my pastor would say all the time, and this is one of the things that's most important to me. I am big on investing to be in the room. And one of the things my pastor said to me all the time, some things are caught and not taught. And good. For me, being in the community, being ECM, seeing how you run events, even like I'm still low key stalking you on Instagram and all of that, or high key, however you want to say it. But for me, I catch a lot of things. Like, you can teach me things and I'm gonna pick those things up, but I watch people and I catch things. And when I catch things, one thing that I'm not afraid to do is duplicate what works, not plagiarizing, not stealing people's stuff. But if I see that there's a model that works, it's a lot of times we try to reinvent the wheel. Why are we trying to reinvent the wheel when you have a model that works, that you can follow it and tailor it to be your own. And so that's what I've been doing. I've been following, my pastor is another one of my coaches. She has a model of how she does things, and so I literally had people around me that I was able to just pull from in order to make it happen. And now I can finally say I'm having my first annual event, and we've already planned next year's. Like, we're ready to take registration for next year's event at this year.
That's it.
Because of the model.
We got an event. Let me recap. We got an event. We got a CEO retreat out of the country with passports.
Yes, ma'am. Jamaica.
And then we also have full caseloads of clinicians in the group practice ready to hire more. Okay.
Exactly.
So everybody probably going to be fired up when they listen to this and or watch this. And I would encourage people to watch it just to see our flow, right? However, there are going to be a few that doubt they can get to where you are. So I'm going to add a little twist in here. If you were to meet Chanel 4 years ago, what would you tell her to help her understand that she's on the right path? Because she's self-doubting herself. She has limiting beliefs. She may not want to invest in herself, whether it's being in the room, whether it's paid or free, getting additional help, asking for help. What would you share with her?
The first thing that came to mind was alignment. I had to get aligned with what you know is in you and your passions. Because for me, like when I talk about the streams, right, and I have a couple of other things that I'm doing, but it's all aligned within my passions. So none of it feels hard. None of it seems like work. I'm excited to show up for it. And so there was a time when I was building to this point where I wasn't excited because I didn't know what my niche was. I didn't know where I was aligned. I didn't necessarily know what I love to do. And so you have to find your alignment and then chase the dream, because so many people try to chase the dream and they're not aligned. So it's like, what dream, whose dream are you chasing? And then you waste so much time going after something that was never meant for you when you know that you're passionate about this over here, you're good at this over here. And so for me, I would say to Chanel, get aligned. Get aligned. Stop trying to do all of the things and find the thing and get aligned with that. Because when I found the thing, literally everything else found me. Like literally, when I got like my speaking, I love to do that. And I can do that. And when I started doing that, people were coming after me. People wanted me to coach them. People were asking me, where's the book and stuff like that. So literally the things came to me because I got aligned with that one thing. And now I'm able to branch off with my streams. I got my book club, coaching program. I got my events. I'm speaking. I'm just do counseling. I got group practice and all of that because I got aligned.
That's good. That's good. You said something, and I was having a conversation with so we're gonna talk for like three minutes. So I was having a conversation with my human design coach last week, and we were talking about just like the progression of specifically the mastermind, because I was telling her like, oh, I do these. Well, she knew I do the VIP ones, like I was doing in Vegas and stuff. And I'm like, it's really to give people a sneak peek, because I really don't even think that a lot of therapists even truly understand what masterminding is until they're in the room. And usually it takes probably 2 or 3 of them for them to really understand, like, oh, this is not a classroom. Just her, based off the feedback that I even got from our program, like last year. Remember, we did like peer stuff, and some of the students are like, wait, I wanted to hear from you more. And I'm like, that actually isn't the definition of a mastermind. Right. You're not in a classroom. If you want to do that, I could just like go back to a college and teach. No shade, but I'm like, that is not a mastermind. And so I wanted to specifically speak to, there was one particular stream, and I know you've tried it, and it's clearly like blossomed, right? Because you just launched a conference, right? But launching a product or service is not a joke. And some people, I'm just going to say what you just said. When I was talking to my human design coach, she was like, it's something about what you're talking about that like, you don't even look aligned. And I'm like, I think I know what it is. It's like the light bulb went off. And I said, I can actually take my last year's cohort. I said, I was so proud of them at the end of last year, and they were tired. Right. And she was like, why were you so proud of them? I said, because most of them were with me the previous year. And I went through like the sequence of, y'all, email marketing is important, or text marketing is important. And they were like, it is, but I get to it, kind of thing. And so it was like, I'm going to take some stuff seriously, but y'all were doing y'all clinical stuff, because that was y'all nature. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's why I feel comfortable. And then it wasn't until year 2 that I actually saw the bulk of those who weren't doing group practice or who already had to stabilize. Y'all were like, all right, I'm ready to launch now. Like, let me launch specifically digital products, right?
Yeah.
And some people will go backward, as you mentioned, and say, I want the results of serving a lot of people so I can get a lot of money, not recognizing that you got to feel aligned throughout that whole process, because that's a whole marathon, even if you can do it in 8 weeks, right?
Exactly.
So what can you share with therapists, the good, the bad, or the ugly, or all, in relation to, you come from a clinical space, you know how to get clients and do paperwork, but launching a product that's totally separate from your niche. I mean, not niche per se, but like how you show up as a coach.
Yeah.
Can you share with them just a little bit about like what that process is for
real? I'm still figuring out the whole launch thing, right? Because I think, one thing you will always teach us is rinse and repeat. And that's where I'm at now. And I think when you watch somebody do it, it looks easy. It looks doable. It looks like, okay, I can just do this. But you don't realize how many steps behind the scenes it takes to get to what you see on that screen when we're finally putting it out there. And here's the reality. Even when we put it out there, we're still working behind the scenes, trying to make sure that stuff is right, the kinks being worked out, or whatever the case is. And so with the whole launch process, I'm grateful that I did launch a product under you, which was my book club at the time, because it really showed me the sequence of steps that I need to take to build interest. You know what I'm saying? The marketing, like I still have my write-up of like, okay, this week we're going to do this, and then we're going to do that, or whatever. And that has tremendously helped me, because it's like sometimes we'll just put together a flyer and we'll put it out there and we think, oh, okay, I have a program. But what are people walking into? Not thinking about stuff, okay, payment. How is payment going to happen? If they're doing a payment plan versus they're paying full, do you have a system that can cover payment plans? Or am I going to have to manually go in every month and click, okay, send them another invoice? Is it automatic? Automations for all of that, right? Making sure that your automations are right. Like, okay, when I say cart is closing, is my system set up to automatically take it down? Or do I got to be up at 11:59 p.m. to make sure, like, I shut, so like all of these things, right? Making sure the graphics is right. Your marketing makes a difference. I literally, one of my good sister friends, she's a brand strategist and marketer. She had a workshop last night, and she was just teaching us different ins and outs. And we were just talking about, she was just like, I don't care how good your expertise is and how good your event is. If your flyer is trash, if what you're putting out to the world is trash and it is what it is, I'm not coming. Like your marketing doesn't, you talking about an event for Mother's Day, but it's a brick wall in the background with all these bold letters and these dark colors. I'm not coming, because I think
it's your cover letter. It is think about it as your cover letter. And if you know anything about employers, deep in behind scenes, employers will tell you they will trash a good resume and not look at it clearly because the cover letter is trash, or you didn't take the time to even create one. Exactly.
And all of these things matter. Like that's the one thing I want to tell people, like these things matter. Like you can go on Canva and probably throw something together yourself, but unless you're graphically inclined, you want to pay for those things, right? Here's the other side of it. When you're launching, you don't think about all the things that you're paying for behind the scenes. You got to pay for systems. You got to pay for marketing. You got to, pay for the materials and stuff like that. So it's not just planning on launching an event so that I can make money off of this event. Like you got to know your numbers. Just like with my conference, and I had to sit down and do that budget sheet. When you're launching an event, you need to sit down and like, okay, this is how much it's going to cost me for graphics. If I plan on doing ads, on Facebook and Instagram, this is what it's going to be, because all of that makes a difference, right? And include it in your pricing of your program. Like there are so many steps to launching that we don't even, and those are just the steps I know about, right? I don't even, like there's some steps that I'm sure that I've missed, but what I did learn is that some of my systems have gotten easier, right? Because I did it. Now when I have my conference, I can launch my book club again, because now my systems are right. Now it's just a matter of making sure that the flight, you know what I'm saying? it's like once you do it, it becomes easier to do it, and eventually it becomes automatic. But you have to get to the eventually place. And some of us want to start from the eventually place, and we're not there yet. And so launching is deep. Like that's a whole coaching program in and of itself, y'all. Like launching is real deep, so make sure that you take your time with it and that you're invested in the process, because the worst thing is to launch and you put all that work in and then it just flops. Like that is one of the worst things in the world. So you just want to make sure that you have the proper guidance and you really understand what this means. And you're not just throwing something on a flyer and saying, I have this program, because it's so much more than that.
You better preach. Listen, okay. I'm going to pull it all together with alignment, because you said a lot of things that were awesome, but I keep going back to the word that you use. And like the whole marathon is that people have shiny object syndrome. And I really just wanted you to share, briefly an overview about the good, the bad, and the ugly about launching, because people are really married to the outcome, but not really married to the steps.
That's good.
And not being able to see all the things behind the scenes. But one thing that I will say again, that sets you aside from somebody who's just going to be watching and be like, oh, okay, I'm just going to launch it anyway, or just won't keep working if I keep doing it the way I'm doing it.
Right.
Is that and you said something else earlier, so I'm gonna pull that word out to the word pivot. So you launched a product, it did whatever it did. And then you were like, maybe I got to pause, but my heart is still there, but maybe it's not the right season. Maybe I got to take some time to work out things in the background. And I'm saying this because, again, when they see people, I'm gonna say like myself, people follow me, I can launch a DTA program over and over again, but until you realize it's like my 17th launch, and that's come from webinars, people not showing up, me paying for Facebook ads and nobody buying, you don't hear about those things. You just hear about the 6-figure launches or the $50,000 event or whatever it is, right? And so you want to make sure that if something is not working, it's not your sign to give up. It just may not be the season for you to publicize it, because you need to do more work behind the scenes. But you were able to take your emotional motivation to what you did and how you showed up in that launch and say, oh, well, what I did is possible regardless of the results.
Exactly.
So I'm going to take all that energy, because I know it's possible, but my energy right now in this season is Stance conference. You feel me? So I'm going to go ahead and have this conference and apply, rinse and repeat.
Exactly.
The exact same stages that it takes to launch, because that doesn't change the stages of a launch.
Exactly.
And now you're just going to, like you do, you're going to rinse and repeat the conference now, but you're still a leg up because you launched something already. That's what I'm trying to tell people.
Right.
Just get out of your own way, bet on yourself, and just do it. I'd rather you fail and try than literally go to the grave saying, I wish I should have. I was just putting it off for another year. And then you pass up all these experiences. And honestly, you hella selfish. Because you're not there to be at a conference and serve all these people that were there or were supposed to be there at your conference.
Exactly. And, I would definitely say to DTA students and ECM students in particularly, make sure that you take advantage of being in a program where you're in a program and do some of this stuff while you have guidance and eyes on it. Because that for me was what made a difference. Like I was able to sit down and go through the launch processes with you, and you were able to tell me, no, that's trash. Don't do that.
I like that, y'all.
Right. Well, that's how I heard it in my mind. That's how I interpreted it, right?
Well, no, because some people be hearing me, be like, is that really how she's talking?
Right. She didn't really say that, but in my mind, that's what I need to hear, right? But making sure that you take advantage of that while you are getting the coaching and while you are a part of the community, because that was what really helped me. It was just like, okay, I had guidance on this. So at least I know that my skeleton is right. Now, adding my pieces and my touches on it, my skeleton was right. It's so uncomfortable to have a skeleton that is not right. And I'm just like, I know this is not right, but I know my skeleton is right. And so now when I did it, the conference, spoke for itself. I had a goal, hit my goal of how many people I wanted there, and different things like that. So take advantage of the coaching that you're getting. Make sure that you know what it is that you want to work on. One of the things I love that TK would do is know what is the one thing that we are working on this quarter. Like the one thing, you know what I'm saying? And just being mindful of that and then go all in on that thing. Because I was able to do that last year, it really helped me to put the pieces of the puzzle together for what I'm doing now that I'm not in the program.
Yeah. Look, so wait, before I wrap up, I'm like, look, you be saying so many great things. I like to break stuff down into layman's terms for mental health providers. So Chanel just talked about the skeleton, right? So let's just put it into a psychobabble for us from school. And like, I'm gonna be your professor today. So in order for all the students to do their homework, the first day of the class, the professor has to provide what? A syllabus.
Yes.
Right? But when I give you the syllabus, the skeleton, I need you to go home and read the chapters. You got to log into the portal. I'm hope I'm speaking everybody's language who listening and watching, right? You have to log into the portal. You also have to do the work, because when you come to class in 4 more weeks after a few lectures, right? AKA coaching sessions or group sessions, whatever, and you ask questions, now you also got to take this thing called a test.
Yeah.
I can't take the test for you. Your test is launching the thing and getting out of your way to see the results. And if you don't like the results and they're trash to you, I literally have told my college students, if you don't like your fucking grade, I don't say it like that, but if you don't like your grade, study harder.
Yep.
Go do it again. I got another test for you in 2 weeks. Don't you worry. You know? But if you want to keep failing, you either need to drop the class, AKA close your business, because you can't even get the degree, AKA get all these successes in your business. You can't get the degree if you don't get the credit. And what they saw last year was the credit, whether it was what they deemed, because I deem every launch that the first time you finish is a success. Like,
you did it. Listen, you did it. Exactly.
That's all I needed to see. And that's what, going back to my human design in closing, she was like, why you look so proud? And I was laughing. I said, because they was tired. And she was like, is that your goal, to make them tired? I said, no, that was not my goal. My goal was to make sure that they finished. But I can only ask them to finish. I can only give them the tools. They have to go finish though. And I feel like a lot of them woke up, because some of them realized, oh, this is for me. And then some of them realized, yeah, the launch thing is cool, but this digital product was cute. Right. But I'm going to use this knowledge and rinse and repeat it to something else.
Exactly.
So where can they go find out about you? Because probably by the time they hear this episode, your conference would have already happened, but it sounds like you're about to re-up and open up some doors for another one. So where they go find you, and then we'll link it up in the show notes.
Yeah, so I am on Facebook and Instagram at Oasis Wellness Group. I am also dabbling in TikTok at Oasis Wellness Group. So you can find me on those platforms, and everything I do, listen, you're going to hear about it. Like, I'm, putting it out there. So yeah, feel free. My contact information is on my Instagram page and all of that. So
yeah, go ahead and y'all follow her. Get in her DM when y'all see therapists or listen to therapists on this podcast. Go give them a shout out on Instagram. Just shoot them a DM and say, yo, I heard that podcast. It was fire. You inspired me to do this. It doesn't matter what level of your business or career you are in. If you are aspiring to be like her, tell her that. If you want to do an event one day and maybe you want to come to hers, tell her that. You never know. Okay. Right. So I want to thank you for the bottom of my heart by inspiring also our therapists who are already seasoned and showing them that it's okay to continue to invest in themselves. And what I mean by that is not just finances, but time. Because you're in a season right now that, you're dishing out money to invest back in your business, which is systems and stuff. Yeah. But you also have to give it time.
Exactly. Exactly.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.